Welcome to Jeremy's Tech Channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at Manjaro XFCE Edition. So it's been a bit since I've gotten to check out XFCE, the desktop environment, and Manjaro, so I'm looking forward to doing that. When we go through these walkthroughs are great if you're a person that's curious about how things kind of go together and the way distributions really work. You know, when you go to a bakery and you order a chocolate cake, and then you go to another bakery and you order a chocolate cake, they're probably not the same. They might have the same ingredients, but there's more or less of something, or maybe a little bit of this ingredient or an extra ingredient you didn't know. And it's the same way with distributions. So it's good to find out what is a good mix for you to start out with, or maybe you're having issues with something. And so it gives you an opportunity to kind of work through that. And today, the distribution we are looking at is Manjaro XFCE. And here are some of the strengths with Manjaro as a distribution to look at. One, they have a really strong community. It is large, and they have a great wiki page too. And with this wiki page, you have a lot of great information. And even someone coming for Windows, they've got something set up here for you to kind of read and learn and go and know, if you will. They also have a great forum with a lot of active people and users that are using it, and that's great. So we like that part of Manjaro. The next thing about Manjaro that you might appreciate or you might not, depends on the kind of person you are, is a rolling release distribution, which means there's not like these major releases every 6 months or every year. They just continue to roll out the packages when they're ready. It is an Arch-based system, which their rolling release is very cutting edge, if you will, on the scale of, like, you know, most stable packages that we, have gone through, not the test of time, but they've been used consistently long enough, and it would be considered more stable because of less bugs and things like that, less unknown issues versus cutting edge where you might be adding in new things. It's kind of right below Arch, because what they do is they hold back their repositories for a couple weeks before they release them, trying to catch some of those bugs. In the scale of things, you've got Debian, Debian would be, be considered very stable, and then Ubuntu, and then Fedora, and then Arch. And then somewhere between Fedora and Arch would be Manjaro. What does that mean for you as a user? That just means that if you need and want new features with your software, you can get those very quickly and recently. So for instance, with a desktop environment going through a major update, like KDE recently just went to KDE Plasma 6, you'd get that right off the bat, right? So that's one of those advantages as well. Their kernel and hardware support is excellent. So that gives you something. They may not be able to provide as much hardware support for older hardware. I'm talking about like really old hardware because of how they maintain the newer kernel that they use. They just came out with, for Manjaro users, 6.9. And look, when you're looking for a distribution, just ensure that you see if it works for you. Don't worry about what other people be saying and all of this kind of stuff, because it seems to be fun to talk about any kind of drama that's happening in forums and things like that. I don't really know. I've just seen some things off to the side on my peripheral vision. But what I do know is people who use it love it, and they've continued to use it. So we're going to check that out today. Also of note, XFCE can be, you may not find it aesthetically pleasing, but it's really easy to get around, and there are people who know how to make it look gorgeous. So don't let that deter you. But if you aren't sure of XFCE and you're like, I just don't like that, no problem. They have, first off, you can choose it for ARM, you can choose it for x86, 64-bit. There you go. You have your official images from the Manjaro team. You've got Plasma, XFCE, and GNOME. Then in your community editions, you've got the Cinnamon Desktop, which was developed by Linux Mint and that team, and 2 window managers, i3 and Sway, that you can choose as well. So this could work for you if you really like the tools and the things that they provide, but you're uncertain of, or you just don't like XFCE, okay? The last thing on their website, I did want to show you that if you decide you like Manjaro and it's working for you, they've been able to work with a lot of partners to get it in hardware. And that might be a really great thing for you, either your computer finally died, or even here, look, there is a handheld gaming this Orange Pi Neo, which seems super cool, right? And you can go through and find a laptop or a desktop that could work for you. There's even a couple of Pine phones, which are really just for developers at this time. I wouldn't suggest buying a Pine phone as replacing your Android Samsung S23 Ultra or anything like that. But there are some great options here that you could purchase. I don't know anyone at Manjaro. I just like it when there's options for people like us who just want a great system and want hardware to work with it. It's Savvy, something that I like to support hardware vendors that use Linux. So that's the only reason why I'm bringing that up. So let's get into it. I'm going to go into my virtual machine, which has 16 gigabytes of RAM and 12 cores for this sweet virtual machine that is going to be running Manjaro XFCE. So this is what you boot into with the live environment. You've burnt that ISO, you've put it on a USB drive, or you put it on a virtual machine, you boot up, and this is what you are welcomed with. A hello, the Manjaro hello, right? And so this is Wednesday 24.0, which comes with the new 6.9 kernel, their new 6.9 kernel, and their hello screen has got a lot of things for you to easily get to, forums if you want to give them some money, launching the installer, those kinds of things. But these things like your readmes, your wikis are great. And then if you need to change the language right off the bat, there you go in their socials. I like to go through and show the install process in case you're nervous about installing something on your system for the first time. What does it look like? What does it do? How do I know what to say? So we'll just go through and install, and then we'll take a look at XFCE and Manjaro and see if it's for us. So I'm going to click this install man, and it's install Manjaro Linux. So I'm clicking on it. Here we are. Welcome to the Manjaro Linux 24 Wednesday day. I'm not sure which way to say it. Here we are. We will pick a time zone. We will pick our keyboard layout. Do you want to erase this disk? Yes, I do. Or you can do a manual partition. Or if you want to keep your other operating system and you just want to create some space and dual boot, this is where you would do it at manual partitioning. And if you want to encrypt your system, you click the little check mark and you move on with your day. Next, we have to set up a user. And I am going to call this not standard PCQ 35-inch 92009. I'm going to call it Jeremy Manjaro. I'm going to give it a password. I'm going to use the same password for the administrator account. You can choose to install an Office suite or no Office suite. I don't want to do Office on my sweet Manjaro install. Great. Hit no Office suite or free Office or LibreOffice. Your option. I have most experience with LibreOffice. It works really well. Next. Are you sure this is what you want to do? Yes, it is. Install. You will not be able to undo these changes. But I'm in a virtual machine. I can start over if I want to. Here we go. Install now. We're going to speed this up, and I'll see you on the flip side. Okay, we're done. That took about 5 minutes on this system with, remember, 16 gigabytes of RAM and 12 cores on a virtual machine. I'm going to hit restart, and I'll see you on the flip side, and we'll walk through this. Nice. All right, we are in. We are greeted again with a hello. That's always nice and kind. And now it's time for us to explore what we get with XFCE, and what tools and parts of the recipe, what kind of chocolate cake we get with Manjaro. XFCE is definitely something I remember that you can get to most things by right clicking. I right click, I can create a launcher. I can do a lot by right clicking that you're used to. No, we're not talking anything crazy, but you also have your full application menu right here, which is great. And one of the things that Manjaro adds is this settings manager, which is pretty nice. It's got a lot of the XFCE tools and their own tools, which is great. I want to start with something that you get with Manjaro. Oh, look, we already have package manager telling us there's updates available. That's nice. Manjaro settings manager. Let me look at that. Boop. And you can set and download language packages. But here is something that is pretty nice, a graphical tool to use or choose kernels or multiple kernels, or switch out your kernel. If you want to use an LTS kernel as far back as 4.19, you can. And also still have the newest 6.9 kernel, you can do that, or choose between the two. And that tool is right here. And that is really nice if you're getting comfortable with that. And normally, let's say you choose 2 kernels, those will be showing up in your bootloader menu if you use Grub or whatever. Grub is a bootloader if you don't know. All right. You can set your time and date, add user accounts. Hardware configuration is a good one that they do. And if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, or if you have a Wi-Fi card that requires proprietary drivers, here is where that configuration happens. It recognizes it. I'm on a virtual machine, so guess what? It sees video virtual machine. It doesn't see anything like that. But if you have that, this is where you can easily find those things and configure and add proprietary drivers, or you just want open source drivers. You don't want that. You can do that right here. This is a great tool that Manjaro gives you right off the bat. There also is default application. You can set whether you want Firefox, Thru as your file manager. I love that name. And it's really nice that you can do it there. Yes, you can do it in the terminal. Yes, you can do it in other ways, but it's nice that it's kind of consolidated in one place for you. You can configure your firewall. This firewall is about GUFW, so the UFW firewall, and you can use it. If you want a firewall set up with a graphical user interface, here you go. That's nice. Setting up your desktop, they give you plenty of options off the bat for your desktop. And you're like, what's the big deal? It's just a picture. You just might feel a little more comfortable, like it's yours. So it's nice to show. You can also include or exclude some things. Do I want to include the applications menu on desktop? Right click. I can unselect it, and then it's not here anymore when I right click, but I do want it. And there it is. So that's nice. And then you can fix your icons if you don't want this home folder showing up on your desktop and cluttering it up. You can remove them. You also can deal with a lot of style and icons and fonts if you're into that. And you're going to want to if this isn't your jam. One of the things that drives me nuts about XFCE is how the fonts are rendered. They always seem soft, and I can't describe it, but it just seems to be harder to read, even if you make the font super big. Maybe it's just me. You can give your panel a background image. That's pretty cool. But See, this is where you're combining the XFCE tools with Manjaro's tools, and they put it all together. You can go here and select your display and get your resolution right, get your scaling right, and there you go. That's nice. Power management, mess with your mouse, your color profiles. You can read, you can see, but one of the other ones is your add and remove software, and they have PAMAC. It is a front end for Pac-Man, which is used on Arch systems, and it's nice and easy to install new packages. One thing I want to show you real quick is there aren't that many applications outside of what XFCE gives you and the tools that Manjaro gives you. Remember, we said we don't want an Office suite. So guess what? They have the dictionary and a document viewer, but you don't have LibreOffice or FreeOffice or whatever else you want to have here. You have VLC, Audacious, some things like, well, you know, Firefox is kind of important. They install Pigeon, which is like a messenger kind of app, Thunderbird for your email. They install GIMP, some other accessories, Task Manager, those kinds of things, but it's not like it's this massive amounts of software, which you can choose for yourself and you can do in PAMAC. It's quite easy to find what you're looking for. If I want to go ahead and install Inkscape, I can click on it here and I can click install and I can click apply. Now it says, hey, I have some dependencies, some optional dependencies that will help. And I want to use these or I don't want to use these. And now it's telling you exactly what it's downloading. It's going to be 184 megabytes worth of information. And I click apply and they are asking for password, which is great. It will download the package. A restart is required for changes to take effect. Well, we're not going to do that right now. Here's where you can manage your repositories right here. You've got your general setup here, and then they have these third parties that you can get going or turn off. And if you need the AUR is a really cool community-driven packages set of packages that are really great, that fill in the blanks sometimes, that are really nice to have, but they can easily break things, especially with a system like Manjaro, where your packages are held back for a couple weeks at a time, or, you know, they just hold them back until they're ready to let them go. And it could cause breakage a little easier. But if you need it, you can turn it on and you can enable Flatpak support or snaps. You can turn on, enable Flatpak support, check for updates, and boom. Now I have Flatpak support, so if I wanted to download a Flatpak version of something, I can. So now that we've basically looked at the control panel of Manjaro, so Control-Alt-T brings up your terminal and you can see how you want to work around in the terminal. I'm not going to do much of anything except for install NeoFetch, okay? Just so you can see Arch-based systems use Pac-Man. If you're using an Ubuntu or Debian-based system, you're probably using apt or apt. If you're using a Red Hat or Fedora or something along those lines, you're probably using DNF. That's the set of tools that you get to use. So here we are going to Pac-Man, and then this is the install NeoFetch, and then it's wanting my password because I just asked for sudo. Yes, please. It'll go through, it'll install, and then NeoFetch. And it looks horrible on this, just kidding. You can see 6.9 is the kernel. You can see the window manager. You can see the memory, right? So there you go. That's nice. So you've got, I just pulled up HTOP to see what's being used. 793 megabytes out of the 16 gigabytes of RAM that I gave this system. You can see the processes. No big deal, but it is a lighter system, and that's the advantage to using XFCE. This is your panel bar, the same menu of applications for you to use over here by clicking this little guy. But it's backwards a little bit. The pane is on the right-hand side with the information of that on the left-hand side, which is, just a preferential thing. But there it is. That gives you a sense of how that works. So we'll pull up GIMP. There's GIMP. And they have these workspaces here. You can use the workspaces, or you've got this minimize, maximize. If you just want to use your mouse, you can use that. And this is telling us our system's up to date, our Ethernet connection, our clipman for your clipboard for things you copy. That's actually showing clip from my desktop that's not on the virtual machine, but my virtual machine has ability to tell it or to share the information from it. Your audio stuff, your calendar stuff, and your power off. This is Manjaro in a nutshell with XFCE. This will give you information about your system with XFCE. XFCE version is 4.18 and the GTK version is 3.24. If that matters to you, it is a nice, snappy system. Oh, you should probably see the file manager. File manager is Thru. And like I said, if you don't like the way things look, you can do a lot of work to make this look really different. But if you just want something simple out of the box that's lightweight, this guy's got you. All right. Very simple, easily able to navigate. So that was Manjaro Linux with XFCE. If you liked the control panel and the tools that they give you up front and like the idea of a big community and some very cutting edge packages with new features coming out, then Manjaro might be for you. But let's say you didn't like that XFCE desktop environment. Well, like I showed you earlier, there are other options you can use to make that happen for you. If you want a window manager, if you want a desktop like Cinnamon or GNOME or KDE or whatever. And just remember, with Linux, you can install another one, another desktop environment if you're at that place. But if you're choosing Manjaro, something tells me you are looking for something that's just going to be pretty much set up for you. And that's where that works. I would see if it works for you. If it scares you to have really new packages, then you should probably consider Ubuntu-based systems or Debian-based systems to work within your comfort level. But if you're looking for new features and you're not scared of those things, Manjaro, and they do kind of just like give like a little wall there and kind of wait and see if that package is going to cause a problem. I don't know how well it works. I did have a laptop that had XFCE Manjaro on it for a good amount of time, and it never broke or gave me any issues. It was actually an older laptop, and it still worked fine. And so I'd say you're probably in the clear, but I can't guarantee anything. XFCE is extremely easy to navigate. It is extremely easy to get around. And so if you just want a nice, light system for a desktop environment to get around in, there you go. If you want something lighter, maybe choose a window manager or LMDE, or do they even have LMDE anymore? Or is it LXQT now? I think it's LXQT. But something lighter if you want something like that. But really, it's quite nice. Gets out of your way. You can work on it. Like I mentioned, some of the font scaling it doesn't work well. It's a little too soft for me when I look at the fonts. I've tried to change them multiple times, or maybe I don't know what I'm doing. So tell me in the comments how to make them be rendered properly like they are in other desktop environments. But other than that, man, what a great experience. Manjaro has some great things going for it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. With any distribution, see if it works for you. If it don't work for you, use something else. But that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Let's continue doing this Linux thing, and I'll see you tomorrow.